The Packers, it's weird. They're 0-2 with Jordan Love and 2-0 without him. They do lead the NFL in big plays. I like all their structure. Listen, Jordan Love hasn't taken a lot of snaps because of the injury, and he's not quite ready to go. Second half, the offense looked better than the first half. They lead the NFL in takeaways. So Green Bay is a feisty, aggressive defense, which is what their fans have been complaining about for years. How come the defense can't be as good as the offense? I still think Green Bay is an ascending team. It is a young team with a quarterback that comes in rusty. They're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. This was always a tough spot for the Green Bay Packers. I think what Matt LaFleur was able to do with Malik Willis and all of that was absolutely amazing and awesome. And the way how the team kind of all came together and how they all really stepped up to support the situation, I think is really remarkable, because it would have been very easy for them just to drop those two games. And then at that point, now they're 0-3, and now it's, panic, and it's just like, all right, do we just punt this season already, right? And they obviously did not do that. And so that alone shows me, a ton. But it's tough, right? You go to Brazil, you have your starting quarterback, obviously Jordan Love goes down, and then you have these two games that everyone has to get behind the backup quarterback, and then now you have the next game where you're going to bring Jordan Love back, and it's against the hottest team in the NFL, the Minnesota Vikings, a divisional rival, right? And with a super aggressive defense, right? With Brian Flores, who's just been really awesome, right? People are just endlessly praising him, and that's a tough first game to come back to have Jordan Love come into, right? I mean, it just is. He's kind of still figuring out where he stands with his injury, with his knee. You could see at a lot of parts in that game, he'd like, at first I'm like, oh, he looked really comfortable. And then as it kind of came down, it was like, all right, now it's kind of, more obvious that he's like slightly compromised. But in the second half, it was like he never had an injury at all. So it was like, I wonder if there was maybe like a little bit of stiffness and it needed to be loosened up a little bit. I know I've definitely had that with plenty of my injuries. And so it was just kind of interesting to see him kind of get in the rhythm a little bit more. But they had a fantastic opening drive, even though it was no touchdown, right? Like that already was just like, okay, he's kind of getting into rhythm. And one of the other problems is that since they kind of got behind pretty quickly as well, they struggled to get the run going. And then you have a bad interception. Things were just not cohesive, right? In the beginning, it was really the tale of two halves in a lot of ways. The Vikings defense is just elite right now, and it's going to take probably Matt LaFleur a second or two to figure it out, right? It's actually one of the great benefits of having a team like the Minnesota Vikings in your division, because you get to play them twice. So in a way, it's actually kind of good that you get to play them a couple times the regular season, because there's a true chance that you might face them in the playoffs. So which I actually think will bode well for Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love, and the rest of the Green Bay Packers, because these are hyper intelligent, offensive minds who, if anyone's going to be able to figure out that defense and how to exploit it, it's going to be Matt LaFleur and the Green Bay Packers, right? So I think that actually ends up being a silver lining for sure. And in a way, struggling against it now is also good, because it's you didn't exploit their defense right off the bat, and so now they're not ready to make all these changes. It's more on the Packers to make these changes, and again, I think that really kind of bodes well for them. It was one of those games as well where missed field goals, dropped some of these like 50-50 balls that could either have gone either way, where it's either going to be a great catch or a drop, and it just. The game felt out of rhythm a little bit. Again, I know at the end it kind of got close, but it was an uneven game. You just have to admit that. But again, it makes sense, right? Like it's totally justifiable. And it turned into backyard football kind of more quicker than you would have liked it to be, right? And again, once the score is what the score was, it was just kind of more of the sense of like just kind of desperation, nothing to lose, right? It's either going to be a first down, a touchdown, or an interception, right? Like that was kind of the mentality. I'm going to sling it, and it's either going to be caught for a touchdown, it's going to be an interception, who cares, because it's better than a punt, or a first down, whatever, let's go, right? And it was just kind of like a whatever feeling. And that's why when I took my notes, because I take notes when I watch these games, I'm taking all these notes and I'm like, okay, this is how it goes. And then the second half comes along and I'm like, well, now my notes feel not as accurate as they did, because it's just kind of completely different. So it's like obviously you can't do this. I would have loved to have seen what another half would have looked like, right? I would have loved to have seen another quarter or two to see, what is going on right now, right? What is actually happening. Um, it wasn't that LaFleur learned as the game went on, like, okay, I know how to exploit this defense or not, or was it more on the Minnesota defense kind of letting up? And it wasn't really until the second half that they really started to finally make Sam Darnold uncomfortable, because Sam Darnold was super comfortable. But it was good because they were able to kind of get some momentum going, and then they were able to keep the momentum going. The Packers now, they were able to keep the momentum going with really smart strategic play calling, especially on the third touchdown. And they didn't get the 2-point try, but Love suddenly, he started to look very, springy and 100% healthy. He was kind of like bouncing, he had this lightness to him, and it was just like, where is that suddenly coming from? But I really think at the end of the day, the Vikings are just going to be a tough team, no matter who it is, right? And so that is definitely something that the Packers will have to reconcile with. And like I said, I think it's actually a good thing that they're in division, because they get to figure each other out. And you're going to be, if you're a Green Bay Packers fan, you're going to be betting on the Packers to be able to figure it out, right? To be able to, this is where you should just be so grateful that you have a coach like a Matt LaFleur who can really get to work and really look at this defense and say, okay, this is what we need to do. This is how we beat this defense, right? If you have some of these other lesser coaches, it's a lot harder to do no matter how great your team is. You need to have a great game plan. You need to have a great offensive mind to be able to figure out defenses out. Just look at the Ravens failing to beat the Chiefs, as well as the Bills failing to beat the Chiefs, right? When you don't have that great coach to be able to attack a good defense, you're just lost, and you're just relying, no matter how great your quarterback is, you're just relying on them to try to like just figure it out or force their way through the wall, and it just doesn't happen. You need a coach to be able to come up with a plan to figure out how to scale the wall, how to either blow up the wall, whatever it may be. You can't just run through the wall. That's not how it works, despite what many coaches seemingly think so. So that's why I'm just excited to see this team kind of continue to grow and evolve over the next few weeks, because we haven't really got to see what this team is, right? We were kind of robbed of that with the Jordan Love injury. But I think the first half was kind of like, okay, to be expected. In the second half, you're like, all right, this is interesting. They got something going now. All right, Jordan Love's looking good, feeling good. Because that first half, he did something where he was on the ground and he was on his back and he starts like grabbing his knee, and it was just like, are you just like, is it just the way you're getting up right now? Are you holding your knee? Like, what are you feeling? What's actually happening right now? But all in all, I think he looked pretty good. And I think at the end of the day, even though it was a loss, and a weird loss at that, and a divisional loss, I think it was, for the most part, more positives to take away than negatives. And so I like I keep saying, I'm just actually really excited to finally get to see Jordan Love get settled in, because in a lot of ways that first game was rocky for a lot of quarterbacks, all around the league week one. And obviously week one, especially playing the Eagles in Brazil, was just like a weird thing on a weird slippery field, and then getting injured. And so it really hit the reset button. Like, in a lot of ways, like, I know he got to play that one game, but if you play that one game and then immediately get injured, and then have to like not even be able to continue to practice in the way that you normally would, in a lot of ways, this is week one. This game was week one for him again, right? So it's kind of like having to hit that reset button of like, all right, I got to kind of get back into the rhythm of this, get back into the flow of this offense, get into the daily rhythm of just how you're going to practice and prepare for games, because when you're injured, it's going to be different, right? And so once he gets back into the swing of things of how weeks are going to normally go, is also going to help his preparation and therefore his performance moving forward. So yeah, all in all, good things to come. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What did you guys all think about the Green Bay Packers being ranked 8th according to Colin Cowherd? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.